Hi, this is Dr. Scott Young, and today we're going to have Katie and Sean talk about Helene, or the Hurricane Helene. What is going on is you've got, a dichotomy between what the media is trying to tell you, what the government's trying to say to you, and what's really happening boots on the ground here with that too. It's fascinating as it's only weeks away from the election, and you're going, well, did that happen on purpose or did it happen on accident? Hard to say with that too. So, Katie, how you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So we were talking about this on the phone a little bit. This is, so you guys can kind of see this stuff. I'm going to tell you guys can actually communicate with her if you want to. And Sean, that, they have a trucking company, and you guys actually employ quite a few people, 1099, isn't that right? Kind of thing.
We're driving logistics service, so they are employees, but
Oh, they are. Okay.
but that's good. I mean, who knows? Maybe later on we'll do more 1099.
Yeah, it might be
Good
that way,
idea.
especially with the IRS going away, in the future with that too. But because I've wondered that too, how is that going to be, and how you going to, present that with that too. But this Alpha, excuse me, Alpha Resources LLC.com. So I'll kind of put it up there, guys. If you're interested and need help, have a question on that kind of thing, that's their website that you guys can find them with that too. So tell me a little about this. How did the hurricane affect you guys, maybe directly, then indirectly with that too?
Directly, we got a lot of rain. As soon as it came in, we were without power for about 3 days ourselves here at our home, and then we were also without power at work. So it took a little bit of time.
And how far are you from the coastline?
How far are we, Sean? About
Well, for
here, scoot over so I can see you.
which coast, Dr. Scott?
Well, the Atlantic there. So, I mean, are you closer to that kind of thing, or?
Yeah, we're closer to the Atlantic in
Okay.
Charlotte.
So about three and a half hours away.
Yeah, about three and a half hours, depending on where you're going.
And Helene was never supposed to be that affecting into Tennessee and North Carolina. It was never supposed to go far. I've never heard of a hurricane ever doing that. Have you?
No, we have not. I think the only other flood that I can remember, like in recent years, I think there may have been a flood in the mountains around 2004. And doing research, we found out that there had been a very big flood. They called it the Great Flood of 1916, but that wasn't something I just knew until I looked into it.
Right.
So this wasn't supposed to be a big deal. From even the articles that I've read, FEMA has mapping systems that if they knew that there was going to be a problem, they should have been able to warn everybody. That,
Right.
And good gracious, what is it, Corps of Engineers and
the Army Corps,
and all that. These guys and storm drain folks and all that. If there was really going to be a problem at Asheville and all of Western North Carolina should have been warned. And from what we're hearing from interviews from other folks, there was no warning until about 6 that morning, if there was a warning. I don't think that our friends even had any warning whatsoever. Nothing. They didn't know it was going to hit their area. They knew there'd be rain maybe, but no flooding. That wasn't that I'm aware of that anybody knew of.
Wow. So and this was I'm blanking the date out here. It was on a Sunday morning, wasn't that right? Like 6 in the morning?
I think so. It was on the 28th. September
28th.
28th.
Okay.
So
what
was that? Was it Friday?
Morning.
It was Friday morning, actually.
Yeah.
We don't remember much because we were really hot and miserable. I apologize.
Totally get it.
Out those 3 days.
So
and these guys were hit so much worse, right? I just can't imagine.
Well, yeah. I mean, I have a friend of mine, audiologist, that I was up in Minnesota with, and she's in like South Georgia.
Okay.
And they basically got their barn wiped out, and they're turning on power and just letting people come into the showers at their office because people don't have any kind of capability to even get a shower or plug in their phone, and kind of getting the information too. So yeah, I'm hearing it all over.
It has been awful. I know Erica's my best friend. She was boots on the ground. She was there. She was preparing. So it hit on Friday. Nobody knew how bad it was until Sunday is really when people started knowing. And then she recognized early on, they're not getting any help. Nobody's coming to rescue these people. They're not getting supplies. So she literally was getting supplies and asking for help over that weekend. Like she started probably Saturday, loaded everything up Monday, and had the first bit of donations on Tuesday. And she's able to get a lot done in a quick fashion. But this was not something that was expected anyway. These people were prepping for, so the people who had businesses, they're pretty much tourists in that area. So they were preparing, maybe for things to slow down a little bit during this time period. But this is actually when people go up to the mountains to see your leaves turning.
Right.
And then like in Asheville, Biltmore Estates is a really big deal. We have been going off and on for years, and people are going up there to see the leaves changing. And then the next season,
apple season.
There's apple season,
Festival.
and they've got Christmas, which is a really big deal up there. So these people were not prepared in any way, like any of them. And same with Tennessee. Tennessee didn't get notification that I'm aware of, and parts of Georgia, like what you were talking about, and parts of South Carolina, and definitely Florida knew, but they were the only ones that truly were prepared for this that I'm aware of.
It was supposed to come up like Florida, all the way up into maybe South Carolina. And obviously with that, it would kind of touch onto Georgia, but, maybe South Georgia. But that was, that would probably be when I've ever heard of it. If it's going to get to Georgia, South Carolina, coming from Florida, it's going to be tropical storm level, not, even hurricane, level 1, kind of thing. But it was when it was in your, your general area. What were the purported readings? Were they hurricane, level 3 kind of things, or do you guys remember?
In the Charlotte area specifically, it was probably, I would say, tropical, maybe. We had a lot of rain, wind, trees coming down, heavy winds,
up to 30,
lots of power outages all over Charlotte. I can't remember how many, but thousands and thousands were out. We were just some of the lucky ones, but that actually did lose. We've got generators, so we were better prepared than most people, even with that. This was something, there's just no way that anybody would have known the magnitude, the damage, the devastation, especially in Western North Carolina, but Tennessee as well. Those two, I think, were truly hit the hardest, where you've got houses floating away and businesses and cars. It is just unbelievable. Now, where my best friends' loved ones were hit is Linville Falls. They're up a little higher than everybody else. They were still hit extremely hard, but everybody around them, like Spruce Pines, was extremely hit. These people, like these precious mountain people, need help. And now it's so cold. It's 25, 30 degrees at night now. We're thinking it's fall because it's fall, but it's winter conditions at night.
Wow. So I have some pictures here. Do you want to kind of explain some of the pictures with that?
Absolutely. So the first part of the slide is we used to take family vacations. So these are some of our personal family pictures that we took when we took our kids up to the Asheville Mountains, and we typically would stay in Bat Cave, which is about 45 minutes from Asheville.
Yeah.
And
South.
so, yes, and way closer. It's on the Lake Lure end. So we'd always go into Lake Lure. So this is actually a picture of Lake Lure from Chimney Rock. This is actually on top of Chimney Rock.
Chimney Rock. Okay. Yeah.
Which, Chimney Rock that entire town was absolutely devastated.
And Chimney Rock would be like up in this kind of area, would you say? Like
they are right beside Lake Lure. Is that
Chimney Rock is going north up Route 9.
Okay.
From Lake Lure.
Okay, so it would be, around, on the north side of this, on this side of the lake kind of thing, would you say?
Yes,
okay.
And it's upriver from Lake Lure.
Okay. And then, so our next one here, tell me a little bit about this one.
So
I mean,
that
obviously, these are all pre-pictures,
oh,
from a couple years ago with that too.
absolutely. Some of these are older, and we included some of the more recent ones just in the last couple of years when we may have just done a day trip too, to kind of give everybody an idea of what it looks like. So this is the Biltmore Estates. So this is the Vanderbilt estate. And they were actually, believe it or not, their home wasn't hit, but the village that they have there was significantly hit. They have a winery, restaurants, and they also do like a lot of farming and help the local community. A lot of Asheville people actually work there. And that's been a big deal since the 1900s. Well, actually, I guess the late 1890s, I think, is when the Biltmore was established. So they've been around for a long time. And then when they did have the flood in 1916, they helped with that flood. And they are helping with the current flood right now. I think they up to like $2 million, which is probably a drop in the bucket, but
Sure.
They are helping, and that's what's needed. I'll tell you, Samaritan's Purse has been amazing. They were there immediately. They actually have a corporate location in Boone, North Carolina, and I think they have like a retreat in Montreal, North Carolina. So they're very connected in the mountains. I'm not sure about the retreat part, but I'm pretty sure that's where they have their training. So they're training people, how to evangelize and actually training people how to help during devastations. They've got quite a connection, and they have just done a tremendous job. They've got tents, medical tents, and have helped people with food and assistance in any way. They're pretty prepared to go anywhere in the world anytime there's a devastation, which is nice. But this literally was in their backyard. This was their territory that they got hit so hard.
Now,
Wow.
what I would add to that, Dr. Scott, the mansion is up on a hilltop.
Oh, okay.
And
Is it kind of like the Chimney Rock kind of thing, that particular area, or still more in Ashmore?
It's in Asheville.
It's in Asheville.
It's about 45 minutes away from Chimney Rock, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's up on a mountaintop, but a very large part of their estate is down in lower land, right along the French Broad River. So, I hadn't heard a lot about the French Broad River through all of this, but I'm sure that it was flooding as well as every other stream and river in the area.
I've seen some pictures. It's significant. They have a lot of cleanup. They're closed. They're helping to get the cleanup. I think they said they were going to be closed for a few more weeks. And I'll keep, we do go up there, and we get annual passes to go and see this. We don't even always get up there annually, but it's, Asheville. Asheville is what they're talking about the most on the news. What they are not talking about are the smaller communities around Asheville.
Right.
And then those communities, they are talking a little bit about Lake Lure and Chimney Rock, but they're not allowing people to go in and investigate the devastation. So from what I understand, that's been a real interesting scenario with this election, and those people have been very devastated. I was really surprised. I did find an article, it was regarding Asheville, and CNN even said the stench of death is overwhelming. Now, that's CNN. I don't even like listening to them, right? So
Wow.
That's pretty powerful. And I just found it right before we got on. Believe it or not, here in Charlotte, a lot of folks have properties up in the mountains, or go for day trips or the long weekends. And so somebody had posted how dangerous and toxic the mud up there is right now. It's hazmat. Everything's biohazard, and it's making people exceptionally sick. And so they're letting all the volunteers and anybody know. That came from one of the fire stations that they said, guys, you've got to use wisdom when you're up there, and literally telling people they need hazmat suits to go up and help.
Wow. Okay. And then, so this is part of the Biltmore on the side. Yeah.
It sure is. That's part of the Biltmore right there. And we'll have some more pictures where it shows kind of from up top of the estate looking down at their property line. And that is Chimney Rock. So that would have been something I probably should have put down a little lower, but that is a beautiful picture of Chimney Rock when we were visiting that whole area. and they still have their flag up, but they don't have their town anymore.
Wow.
It's demolished. I mean, to rubble. It's so from what I understand, there's a river creek right through the entire town. It has transformed, like the land has changed. It's that where there used to be roads, that's where their river is now. So it's just, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to, it's transformed the land. It's unrecognizable. So that's from the top of, this is actually a picture from the top of Biltmore Estates. And so you can kind of see this mountain terrain. That's part of their property. They have a lot of animals and stuff. You can't see any of the animals on that one, but I know they have goats and different horses and wild turkey.
Yep.
We've seen wild turkey. So
just about every time.
And I know they did.
Would this also be kind of underwater, or at least pretty flushed away right now? You think
that's up at higher elevation?
It's higher elevation, but as you go lower, you can't really see it. But down below the tree line, there would be water below the tree line. There would be water below the tree line, and I would absolutely tell you 100% that area got devastated. Whatever flooded. That's where the Broadway River is on there, and it's.
Oh, you can kind of see it here, right up in this, middle part of the picture.
Yes, that's exactly. And I may have some better pictures of that too.
Okay.
So this is actually in Chimney Rock. So this is, I say Chimney Rock. This is going to be the Chimney Rock area, and so this is where their little river was. It was behind all of their. They have like a little strip, and so like a little town, little strip, and so this was kind of right behind all of that. This is now what used to be their river is come over, and their streets are gone, and it's just I don't even know how these people are getting the help.
Some of the from what I've seen as far as news crews on the internet, they've some of the structures are still standing in Chimney Rock along Route 9 where it comes up as a main street.
But the town itself.
Some of them are washed away. A lot of the riverfront cabins there were riverfront cabins all along that creek.
I wish we had a picture of that. There was a camping spot. You know what I'm talking about. You didn't talk about the camping spot, but there were a lot of folks that would have like little campers that they would park up there, and
like campground type environment.
Very clean, nice, beautiful area. And I would have everything got. I have watched several interviews that other people did because we've wanted to make sure and stay on top of things with this because it does affect work, but because we care about the people and kind of just wanting to know where these people are at, what's happened, and the campground's gone. I saw the interview on that. It's everything was swept into the raging waters. So that's a picture also from Chimney Rock, and that is Lake Lure. All that's devastated now.
You can see the town of Chimney Rock in the lower left corner of
so right over here kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And then what the water. So is the Chimney Rock on the more the southern side of this river, or is the river on the southern side? Which one's?
Well, the Chimney Rock is on the northern side of Lake Lure.
Okay, so this is the north, and here's the south with that too. So the thing would be coming up this direction into Chimney Rock, and flooding out the river, and all the way, and then flooding out this area right here, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
That is just one of the little riverbeds. This, I believe, is in Lake Lure. I believe this is a Lake Lure property. I would imagine that it is absolutely gone. You had a lot of properties that were on higher elevation, but then you had a lot that were right at the lake. So,
which is an awesome property. I mean, seeing a lot of these things, and I've driven by a lot of this stuff in Colorado, and there was a huge Platte River, kind of flood. And when you think some of these areas, the sides, the banks here, and even whatever roads are, then you can try to come back in the area and you go, I can't even recognize anything.
Mm-hmm.
So that is another picture that we just got of, I believe that's going to be of part of Lake Lure. Is that up in, that might be Asheville.
That might be up in Asheville.
That might be up in Asheville. That may actually even be on Biltmore. You know what? Now that I think of it, it's an older picture that we took, but I believe that's actually on Biltmore Estate. So that water would have absolutely flooded Asheville. And we're hearing, I know they're only saying, and I have no way to substantiate, they're saying that there's a couple hundred deaths here. I think we're looking in the thousands. I really do, because it's the devastation goes, it goes miles and miles and miles. I think the storm, it traveled 400 to 600 miles. I can't imagine. And it was a very large, I think it was one of the largest storms that has ever been documented. It was just.
And powerful too. And it didn't really lose any steam for the most part.
No. Right. It did not.
The statistic I saw said that Helene was twice the size and diameter as Katrina.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So now we're in, this is still some of the older pictures with that stuff too, right?
Yes, actually this we took, believe it or not, I think we took this either in 2022 or 2023. So it's actually a more recent picture of Lake Lure. What's interesting is that they were doing some drainage work already. I don't know why or what caused that.
It looked like they were dredging.
It was off season.
Where the river comes into Lake Lure. And they had the water level down low. Doing some, it looked like dredging work. I'm not positive on that, but that's what it looked like to me.
And I think that would have been 2023. So that is actually a more recent picture.
Okay.
And we hadn't really been back up there. Now, this is a picture that Aaron Banks sent to us. Aaron Banks and Erica Wisniewski, and they're fine with us using their names. In fact, if you look them up on YouTube, potentially, but definitely Facebook, they have got stuff posted everywhere to document what's going on. Aaron's from the Linville Falls area, so I don't know exactly where this is, but I know this is around his neck of the woods. So he drove around and got just some tremendous pictures when this happened. So the next few pictures I'm going to tell you are going to be around the Linville Falls, Spruce Pine area, but it could go into other areas as well. That's one of the gas stations that he sent us a picture of, just gone.
It's just totally destroyed. Was the road there's a road right here, isn't that right?
Yeah, there was a road there. It's gone.
It's just wiped out with that too. Yeah.
Some of this, it's actually hard to, I survived Hurricane Hugo and watched the eye of the storm. I cannot imagine what these people were going through, because we were here in Charlotte. It was a strong storm. I watched oak trees that were hundreds of years old just being uprooted, and cars going by like they were toys. It was, and I want to take my dog out. So that tells you how intelligent I was at 13.
A little bit hard at the time, right? Yeah.
I thought it looked like fun. I thought, hey, there's a lot of wind, lots of stuff going on, but I just
not until you realized afterward, right?
Yeah. It was something. In fact, we grew up in a flood zone, so I do understand. We grew up. Our house was in South Charlotte. Was in 100-year floodplain, which is what I'm hearing a lot of with even these people. 100-year floodplain is not 100-year floodplain. I can reassure you, just because of the multitude of floods my parents and my family went through. You get a little bit of rain or a hurricane come through even close to Charlotte, and they would be flooding. So I do understand the fear. I don't understand what these people have been through, just because I apologize. I thought that we put that on.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
All right. So, this is Plumtree Church. So
I want to say that's the Spruce Pine area, but I'm not sure. I think. But and I wish I'd gotten, and I'll send you some later if I didn't, but there are some incredible pictures of even inside the church just completely flooded.
Sure.
This is the town. It's just.
And this is Chimney Rock, right?
Actually, I think this is going to be closer to outside of the Linville Falls area. So I'm
Okay.
going to tell you the Spruce Pines area. There's so many little towns, like all connected right in that area. So I apologize because I don't know that area as well, but it's still close to Chimney Rock and Lake Lore. And
And they're
so,
all kind of looking like this. Is this
oh,
kind of a very
Yeah, this
common
yes.
thing?
The Linville Gorge is closer up to Boone
Okay.
and Blowing Rock.
Well, good. I'm glad we have our and this is why he's gotten me in transportation.
Right.
I can give the drivers the address and he can help tell them exactly where it's at. I don't know exactly where that's at, but this is what all the streets up there look like, from what I understand.
Well, I mean, you can kind of see it, some of the ridge. So this might be, this might be Chimney Rock kind of thing, or some of the area with that around there.
So that's one of the ones Aaron sent.
So that'll be up in the Linville Gorge area.
Okay.
And and all the damage to the roadways that was done up there, when you think about these old mountain roads, so many times they were established by the old settlers hundreds of years ago, and they traveled along the waterways because it was like a built-in map into the geography. They knew where the river went and they knew where it started, and somewhere everybody settled along rivers and waterways. So it evolved into from footpaths to wagon trails into paved roads. So many of these old roads up through the mountains were built along waterways. And this is just my opinion. This is why you see so much damage to the roadways.
And then later on, the railroad systems were.
Yeah, the railroads,
they were right there.
Back in the old steam engine days, they needed a source of water for the train to run.
Sheesh.
So transportation is. So this is also from Aaron, and so we're going to say this is the Linville Falls, Spruce Pines area. There again are a lot of other little towns, so it could be some of the other little towns, but this is just the roads are gone. It's you almost don't know how to even describe this. It's one of those things you feel so bad for these people because they didn't have a chance to even prepare.
Right.
Like, just none. When,
I wanted to ask you a little bit about this. So like tell me a little bit about the government response, the FEMA that's supposed to be, coming into areas with that too. Talk a little bit about that.
So what we understand in talking to people, FEMA has not, they've been there. It took them about a week to get there, but they're not doing anything. They're literally sitting there on their computers or on their phones, right? And I'm sure that this is because they're getting certain orders. One story with an interview that I watched, FEMA went into Asheville. They went to one of the really bad flooded homes, asked them what they needed. This family had small babies. They said, we need formula and diapers. FEMA never even came back to them. Did not even try to help them. I don't know why they went and even interviewed with these folks. Their family came to rescue them from Forest City, which is, I don't know, about an hour and a half away from Asheville.
Probably about an hour.
Okay, so their family about an hour, and even the foothills were actually damaged pretty well too. Sean can talk about that because one of his drivers was directly affected by the storm, and they certainly wouldn't have been prepared either. Just we don't get storms now. We are subject. I always think about Hurricane Hugo because I lived through it, so I know it can happen. Doesn't happen often. But I think about that anytime we get a storm, just because you kind of your mind goes back to, hey, just pray, pray a lot, make sure that these things don't happen. Because Hurricane Hugo wasn't expected to hit Charlotte either. And, as you go into the foothills of North Carolina, those are just not areas that are typically flooded out. If you get a lot of rain, yes, it can happen, but it's just not typical. Those areas tend to be safe. That's where people go. They go to the mountains to run away from the city. So But what
who's helping? I mean, who? You made a comment about Samaritan's Purse, but talk a little about who's
yes.
helping.
So there are different nonprofit organizations that are helping, and individuals. What we have seen the most of, and what we've been part of, twofold. Our church is actually helping, but I'll get into that later. My best friend got a group of other realtors and other people that she works with, and they donated a substantial amount. And she reached out to people that we knew growing up, and they donated food. And it's been the individuals. It's been, the really outside local people, from North Carolina and other areas, South Carolina and other places that are coming in. So there are people with private planes. And actually, you guys talked about this a couple weeks ago. There was a pilot that went to go save people, right? And that was in the Lake Lure area. And he could only get the wife and not the husband. So it's individuals the good news is there was a happy ending. Somebody did go and rescue the husband. They were reunited, but we didn't have the rest of the story at that time, just even 2 weeks ago, right? So what we're hearing is that it's the locals. It's not our government. Our government is not helping, and I've gotten a lot of trouble on Facebook. I've gotten put in timeout a lot because I've shared the interviews of the people that are saying, no, FEMA's not coming. Our government hasn't been helping. Now, the one thing I can say is the infrastructure part of things. They are doing some stuff. It took about 2 weeks. Aaron just got his power back on. So there are some government officials clearly doing something, but FEMA's not doing their job. There's just no doubt about it from all accounts that we know of. I've got to say it that way, because if they are doing something, it's hidden. I don't know what they're doing, but they're not feeding the people. They're telling people they are. But from what we understand, they've commandeered the people that are coming in that are volunteers. They're commandeering their materials and then taking credit for helping. And that's, and then they're telling people you can't go in. So even with our church, you have to have a code to get in and out of the destruction areas. And they've got 3 places that they're set up helping people. So it's been complicated even to help. Now, Erica, because Linville Falls is a little bit more hidden, she's been able to go the back roads and so they've been meeting at a church, at one of the churches, twofold. They've been meeting at a church and a gas station, because people know they don't have really great internet up in that area. So they go down to the gas station to get internet service. And so that's where they set up initially. And then they did move it to the church the other day, I believe, because they were able to get the word out. Hey, guys, we're going to have more coming to you. So she's been going about 2 times a week to get materials to these people. It's been amazing. It's been the individuals that have come together. It's, you do have some very large organizations like we've talked, like Samaritan's Purse. And I know that Samaritan's Feet would like to help as well. I don't know what organization that they will, because I know them and I've talked to them, and they want to help these people.
I've also been seeing a lot of Cajun Navy.
Yes, Cajun Navy's been huge. That
has been helping tremendously.
Huge.
They've got people bringing mule teams in there, pack mules, and trying to get to the more remote areas, because with these roadways and bridges washed out, there are elderly and sickly people trapped back in the middle of nowhere, 30, 40 miles back in the middle of nowhere. And the sad thing is, a lot of these folks that live up there, these are generational homes. And so they don't have insurance. They a lot of them, rely on spring water, and
a lot of them were off the grid before this happened.
Yeah,
most likely, and
but they're trapped with the roadways and bridges washed out. And most of what I'm hearing is relying on your neighbors and nonprofit organizations coming in, trying to clear the roadways and people's driveways. And for instance, my driver that I work with that lives in Forest City, he lives back on a dead end road, and he and all of his neighbors were trapped for 5 days, and finally decided, okay, so the power's cut off to all these power lines. Let's take it upon ourselves to cut our way out. because it
Right.
doesn't look like anybody's coming anytime soon.
Mhm.
So
Well,
they,
I also saw a video, and I can literally, there's a couple videos I tried to bring down. You can see them, but I cannot pull them into this. So, long story with that. This is one of those. But
Mhm.
there was a couple helicopters in the North Carolina area that started coming down on just private facilities. People were setting up their tents and trying to do
Mhm.
some of their aid, and they started coming down and blowing things around and then turn the rotors just
Mhm.
to kind of make new swaths just to do this. And then
Yeah.
I heard North Carolina, National Guard, claimed
Mhm.
responsibility to that.
Mhm.
I mean, what have
There,
you heard a little bit
there,
about?
we have heard that. So we heard that it was, I don't know which division that was, some of our military. So that was an actual thing. And I'm trying to think of, because there have been a lot of stories that we have heard and lots of interviews that we have heard about. With that particular situation, when that helicopter, that was a military helicopter, from what I understand, and
Right.
they say that he was trying to help, but there's no way. He was absolutely damaging, and that was a bunch of individuals that have pulled together. We've been really blessed. A lot of our airports, all of the pilots have used their private time and their private planes. I know Erica was
money.
very fast to go up to the Lincoln Air. I believe it was the Lincoln Airport, right?
Yeah.
Lincoln Airport, and she went. That's one of the first places that she went to find out, because these guys were going into the areas nobody could get to, and dropping supplies, and they needed coordinates, and so even with where Aaron was, they weren't getting any supplies, so she had to give them coordinates. That's one of the things that is very interesting, because government officials have been asking her to help. She's a real estate agent. This isn't her. I mean, this is not something. As she has literally had people that are officials asking her, please get help for these people. Like, what does that tell you? Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. One of the things that we did here, and I did watch this with General Flynn, he did an interview with Benny Johnson.
Right.
He did get a hold of Lieutenant Governor. Our Lieutenant Governor is awesome. Our governor is over sucking his thumb, and I don't know what he's doing, but he's not even returning calls. Like Governor Roy Cooper, not returning calls. Not a good situation. Definitely not there helping. Lieutenant Mark Robinson's there with the people, helping the people. So, you kind of, he's a Republican and he's running for governor, and they have done everything they can to do the biggest smear campaigns on this man, especially recently. It's awful. And you have to think, what is their angle? What are they trying to do? He actually helps the people. And then you've got our wonderful Democratic, in the area that we're in, it's interesting. And like, we're a sanctuary city, and I can tell you stories on that. I can tell you lots of stories on that, but I didn't realize we were a sanctuary city until about 20 years ago, and went, oh, wow, I had no idea. So they protect people that aren't supposed to be here versus the people that are, even in
Well,
Charlotte.
I mean, that's part of the agenda, guys. And as we wrap it up here with this too, I mean, one thing is, I've had people, I have quite a few people, kind of communicate with me, and they're so upset because of this, and rightfully so. We need to be upset about this, but they're kind of saying, well, the white hats, if they're in control, then what happens here? Well, guess what? This is part of a war. I mean, you don't understand.
It
This
is,
is
yeah.
We are in the middle of a war scene, in
Mhm.
essence. I mean, when you see like images like this, or any of these kind of things, that is them doing a war on us.
Absolutely.
And we need to see it for what it really is. Those
Mhm.
are war scenes. and
Absolutely.
and the government doing things. I mean, I'm hearing insurance companies walking into people, and try to file a claim. They go, well, you don't have hurricane insurance.
Mhm.
um Stuff like that, or $750, but you got to pay it back
Exactly.
if you got money from the from your
FEMA.
insurance.
Yeah. Well, FEMA said that they were going to get $750, but it's a loan, and if you default on that loan, don't pay it back in a year, they're going to take your property. So how good is $750 when they're taking your entire property, because these people, they don't have anything.
Good luck to get it in a year. Your money, even from the insurance from in a year. I mean, so this is the kind of stuff that we're dealing with. This is criminal kind of levels of government. Okay,
Mhm.
guys need to understand this is what they're doing. They're setting themselves up. They've fought against this. They want to rip away, these states from being able to vote in the way that they want them to vote. So, or against the way they want them to vote. And we have to understand that's a war. And so
Yes.
only thing that we have left really at this point is prayer.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we need to stand in the gap against them. And that's why I'm doing this here is we're calling them out. We're calling you out, FEMA. We're calling you out, Biden administration. We're calling all of you people out, including the idiot media who don't want to share the truth. And I'm
Yes.
calling you out directly. And here's what happens. You can think that you can stand against us, but the gates of hell will not prevail.
Amen.
Because we are covering that whole area and the prayer and the blood of Jesus with that too. And so
Yes.
that's the kind of stuff that we need to do. And we need to stand in the gap, and we need to hold every single one of Congress, Senate,
Yes.
and fake president under, under the oath of, you didn't do anything. You haven't been down there. You spent money on other things, and you didn't spend money on the right areas with that too.
Absolutely. From what I understand, they're, taking pictures of planes that are loaded for help. What was that? A C-17?
I don't.
Yeah,
I think
it was a
C-17.
military and a C-17. They loaded the whole darn thing, making it look as if they were going to go help the
Just for a
It was a photo op.
Harris photo op.
Photo op.
Yep.
That's
It's because, and the reality is, this is their chaotic nature. I mean, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. This is kind of the thing that's happening. And that's, I truly believe in HAARP because I've seen enough evidence of HAARP with that. But guys, if you're mad at the white hats over this issue, you cannot be mad at the white hats. Guess what? The people are rising up. And this is a turning event. That's why I know that we're close in this kind of thing, because of this kind of stuff. And so,
yes. When we belong to a church that they know what's going on, they are boots on the ground, but spiritually, I guarantee they're going to be interceding and having specific intercession for these people. But they're also down there. They've raised I think they have $100,000 already. Like that was last weekend, and they'd already fed almost 3,000 people hot meals, and they're praying, and they are connected with a lot of folks that can get the help. They had a tractor trailer of water down, going from Texas to there. But you're so right, and people have to understand there's no way anybody could have prepared for this, and it's a spiritual battle. A lot of people may not even realize this, but Kamala's husband has a lot of how should we put this? He sits on some boards. Right. That, like in Kings Mountain, there's mineral rights, and there's some articles that came out in 2023. We've got some lithium, quartz, different very special minerals. The chips that are in our phones and our computers, that comes from all that area. This is an attack. This is absolutely, it's a civil war on the conservatives, 100%.
Well, it's an attack on America. And it comes from within. And so guess what I keep going back to as we end up here, guys? Guess what I keep going back to? Military is the only way. If you think, we're hey, man, I don't know about whether we're going to have election here in 5 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you right now, military is the only way. This is the only way that we fix this kind of stuff. But we have to put every single elected fake idiot under the microscope and keep putting them under the microscope until they belly up to the bar or they're spend their time in Gitmo. Because this is I'm not playing on this kind of statement here. This is also a part. People don't realize this is a part of what has to be fixed with NESARA kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we need to see happen, and it will be happening with that too.
I thank you so much, and thank you for sharing these guys' story. Like this is I have never seen anything like this in my life. And, you know, these people, they're praying. And from what I understand, people are trying to make sure they can get the vote out and make sure these people are not forgotten. So praise God for that. And boy, are we so glad to have your help with all of this. It's, you know, it's amazing. And we're believing that God's going to restore every bit of this for these people. And that it will come through Nasara. They may not realize it. We know it.
Right.
You know, we know it's coming.
Yeah, so guys, just be encouraged, even though it's very difficult time frame for a lot of people. Be encouraged because God has not forgotten about you. God knows exactly where you are. And I just thank you so much for what you guys are doing. I really appreciate that, guys. And just keep it up. And, you know, that's why I put the Alpha Resources LLC, so you kind of knew who they were and, you know, what they're about with that too. They've been spending their own personal time and effort, you know, on this kind of thing, and the business effort with that too. And that's the kind of stuff that we need to see with that too. So thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it. And guys, if you can like and subscribe, you know, make a note down here below. We're happy to talk to you.
Great.
We'll
Thank you, Dr. Scott.
We'll see you.
Thanks.